Hello to all of the climate leaders here today. I'm Luca Saunders. I'm a Mock COP26 student staffer and a climate activist from Australia. When we think of the climate crisis, we tend to think of numbers. We think of the years, the months, and the days left until we reach tipping points, and we think of numbers that represent lives. For example, in the recent Australian bushfires, we had over 30 people dead, 3 billion animals, and 3,000 homes. We know how much carbon emissions increase and decrease each year, and the intensity of a typhoon and the heat of a fire, but what we tend to never see are the human stories behind the climate crisis and the stories of frontline and MAPA youth around the world. I've been affected by the climate crisis for my whole life. Living in rural New South Wales, I spent my childhood wandering the bushland, but I also spent my childhood very wary of a crisis that could turn my life upside down at any minute. In primary school, we often had to stay at home because the risk of a bushfire was too great. It wasn't unlikely that during summer we would have to stay inside lots of lunchtimes because the smoke was too thick that it would be dangerous for us to go outside. From a young age, we had our house's fire plan up on our fridge, and it was the first time that I evacuated during the quite devastating 2013 bushfires. We've survived multiple bushfires in this area, only growing and gaining in intensity over the last few years. In 2019, the Australian Black Summer bushfires, 5 devastating fires, including the Gospers Mountain Fire, which is the largest bushfire in Australia's history, burned through my home area in rural New South Wales and destroyed 80% of our national park, trapping my town and others around it. It was quite a terrifying time for all of us here. And although we just managed to escape in time, our house was saved by firefighters, but so many others around us were not so lucky, and they lost their homes and their livelihoods. People outside of the front lines tend to watch the climate crisis unfold through their screen and see devastation and disaster miles away. But for people in frontline and MAPA communities, it's a constant threat and worry for us and our families. And it's not something that looms in our future, it's here in our present. Our experiences are evidence of what a lack of action on the climate crisis can cause. And even with overwhelming clarity in our government, they refuse to acknowledge that climate and emissions played a major role in the bushfires, instead spending millions of dollars on a COVID pandemic gas-led recovery. And I really think now that Mock COP is our chance to send this global statement from the youth, highlighting the voices of people affected by the climate crisis and people who have stories of the climate crisis. And it's really a beam of hope for all of us who have lost so much to climate inaction. And it's a chance to force world leaders to hear our voices loud. And I really am so proud to be a part of that change. Thank you so much.